The following broadcast is a presentation of Mount Zion Media Ministry.
Matthew chapter 27, I want to read verses 62 through 66 in your hearing, and I'll be reading from the King James Version. Now the next day that followed the day of preparation, the chief priests and Pharisees came together unto Pilate, saying, Sir, we remember that the deceiver said while he was yet alive, after 3 days I will rise again. Command therefore that the sepulchre be made secure until the third day, lest his disciples come by night and steal him away, and say unto the people, He is risen from the dead. So the last era shall be worse than the first. Pilate said unto them, Ye have a watch. Go your way. Make it as sure as you can. So they went and made the sepulchre sure, sealing the stone and setting a watch. Amen. Those verses. And I'll talk a little bit about Matthew 28, 1 through 6 as well. But those are our key verses today. And the subject of the sermon, his enemies couldn't block the will of God. His enemies couldn't block the will of God. I want to start this sermon by saying something real simple. The his in this subject is a pronoun being used for Jesus. Don't want you to miss that. And don't miss this. The name Jesus, the personality of Jesus, is in the same sentence with enemies. The simplicity of that, yet profundity of that, if I can use a word my member, Reverend Aaron Edmondson uses, profundity, is this. Most folk have this concept that when you have enemies, it's a sign that you've been bad, that you've done something evil. And your enemies are your enemies because in some way they were provoked. But don't miss what I'm telling you today, that Jesus had and he has enemies. It seems like that wouldn't fit him. Why would Jesus have enemies? What did he do bad to hurt anybody? Who is it? He certainly didn't come from the wrong family. God is his father. What did he do deserving of the kind of opposition from enemies that he had and still have? And the answer is, in the sense that we think of it, nothing. Again, I want you to hear the simplicity of that and the profundity, because this message I want you to apply not only to the life of Jesus and understanding this post-resurrection idea, but also I want you to understand it in your life and in the life of others. In your life, you don't have to do anything evil to have enemies. And give others the benefit of the same kind of mercy, the same kind of understanding. When you see people coming after other folk, don't assume they're guilty just because somebody don't like them or somebody makes an accusation against them. Don't assume they've done something worthy of the mess they're having to deal with. Here it is, plain and simple. The reason Jesus had enemies is because he came into the world to do God's will. And the world system, as it is called in the Bible, which represents, number one, the ways, the ideas, and the will of Satan, because we believe in this spiritual realm that you cannot see, but it is just as real as this podium. And Satan reigns and rules in that realm as well. And then there's just, in this world, a system of beliefs and ideas, a worldview. And that worldview is opposed to the worldview of God. And so if it's Jesus, you or me, anybody who represents God's will is opposed by Satan and the world. And listen to me closely. If you are a follower of God, part of what that means is that you have surrendered to your will and you've taken on for your life's mission the fulfillment of the will of God. And when you take on that as your life mission, the fulfillment of God's will, here is something else you get without even asking them to come. His enemies become your enemies. Let me say that again. Once you take on the role of fulfilling the mission of God, then God's enemies become your enemy. And don't forget that. Now, I don't want to keep you long there, so let me jump right in it. His enemies had a plan. The plan started unfolding a couple years before it was manifested in his death, but they wanted to kill him and kill his mission. And they kept working and working until they got a plan in place, and over a period of time they executed that plan, which ended in him being arrested, tried, falsely convicted, and crucified. But even with him in the grave, it was not enough. The plan was not finished. And so to carry the plan all the way to the end, the Pharisees, let me just say by definition, they are conservative believers. Conservative, right-wing believers in Judaism who were behind the plot, but they couldn't do it alone. They had partnered with an unjust government. And so they go to Pilate, who represents that unjust government that they were in bed with, and says, now we got one more thing. You helped us to kill him because we couldn't kill him, but what we need now is this. While that deceiver was alive, he made a statement, y'all may kill me, but in 3 days, I'm getting up. You better watch those 3 days. In 3 days, I'll get up. And they says, in essence, we need to be sure that that does not come true. We need to be sure that we don't make the mistake of letting him surprise us with a get up, or letting his disciples steal him and then put the lie out that he got up when they really got him up. And so either way, here is the plan. Give us some soldiers to go and stand guard over his tomb, and give us permission to seal that tomb. And it wasn't a grave like we know where you put people in the ground. This was a cave where you literally walk into. It had an opening. And so they put a rock, this huge stone, to serve as a door in the mouth of the cave to lock him in. And then they put a seal around the cave so that if the entryway was disturbed, if that rock was disturbed, the seal would be broken, and they would know that somebody had tampered with the door. And in addition to that, give us some soldiers to stand guard to make sure he doesn't get out and nobody gets in. Here's their reasoning. If we fail at this, the last era, his getting up, will be worse than the first. Let me unpack that for you. This deceiver fooled folk with his teaching and healing and miracles, and he gained influence because of that. If he mess around and get up, the influence that will come as a result of the resurrection will be even more powerful than his life of miracles, his preaching, his teaching. And so we got to make sure we shut him down. And this plan we got in place will do that. Do that. Look in your Bible for just a minute. I'm going to show you something. See, what I want to make plain to you is they thought they had a good plan, but it failed. And I want to show you 3 reasons, maybe 4 why it failed. It's more than that, but I just want to show you these few. Look at verse 63. Verse 63 says, and this is what these Pharisees said. They went to Pilate and said, "Sir, we remember that deceiver said while he was still living that he would be raised from the dead in 3 days." Let me show you the mistake they made. The mistake they made is making the false assumption that by labeling him, they could redefine his personhood and his mission. By labeling him, they could redefine his personhood and his mission. What in the world are you talking about, Pastor Simmons? His name is Jesus. His name is Emmanuel. You could even call him the Christ. But they don't call him that. They label him a deceiver. And when you unpack that word, they mean what the leader said, that vagabond over there, that hobo, that nobody. And this labeling him had been a part of their ongoing strategy. Some of you not getting it, so let me see if I can make it plain. When people want to destroy you, when people want to get you off mission, when people want to redefine who you are, part of the strategy is to label you, thinking that the label will redefine who you are and what your mission is. And so, and if you follow this life of Jesus, what you will see is when they got ready to come after him, it was label after label. At one point, they called him a devil. He casting out devils because he is the devil. At one point, they called him a drunkard because he was drinking wine. They said he was a drunkard. They called him a sinner because he hung out with sinners. They called him name after name. And they assumed that he was weak enough to let what they call him redefine him. But Jesus proved them wrong. Call me anything you want to call me. I know who I am, and you can't change that. And here's a little strategy Jesus employed that you may want to employ. People were saying what they were saying, but he went around affirming his own identity, not only to himself, but to others. To one crowd who was upset with him and trying to leave him because of his teaching, he turned and said, y'all do what you want to, but I know who I am. I am the bread of life. You say what you want to another crowd. He said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No man comes to the Father but by me. To another crowd, he said, I am the good shepherd. To another crowd, he said, I am the true vine. To another crowd, he said, I am the water of life. Yeah. So, why am I telling you this again? For Jesus, but also for you. Because his enemy hadn't changed their tricks. When they come after you, they're going to put some labels on you. But don't you let those labels redefine who you are. Children, just because somebody call you that, don't make you that. You got to know who you are and don't let a label. And to the grown folks, stop putting labels on children and grown folk. Yeah. I got to be good because we got some children in here. But if I was in a relationship, there's just some things person I'm in a relationship couldn't call me. I ain't your dog. Who? Y'all know who Black Tony is? Black Tony was late for work one day. And so Black Tony told Ricky Smiley he was late for work because girlfriend said he had been acting like a dog, so she put a chain on his neck and chained him in the backyard because he was acting like a dog. Don't let nobody treat you like a dog. And treating you like a dog start with calling you a dog. And I wanted to say some other stuff, but I got children. I can't talk like that. But y'all know what I'm talking about. I got a name. Now you can call me Bae. But you can't. And in life and in all these other places and on the job and in life, be careful and don't accept labels from folk. Number two, they made the false assumption that if they put the obstacle in the grave, in front of the grave, the tomb, that the obstacle was strong enough to keep him in the grave. What a silly assumption. That a rock could block the rock. That the rock of ages, the one who spoke and made the rock, gonna be locked down by a rock. Silly rabbits, tricks for kids. Yeah. No obstacle could stop him, but they believed they could stop the will of God. Jesus getting up in 3 days by putting an obstacle in his way. But truth, no obstacle, even the rock could stand in the way of God's will. Trying to help you once again. As you do life and deal with what you're dealing with, and there are obstacles in front of you, no obstacle can prevent God's will from becoming a reality. Now, I didn't say your will, but if you're walking in God's will, no obstacle can stop you. Number three, because I'm trying to move a little faster here. Number three, they believe that a person, a group of people, could pool their strength and resources together and stop you. And thus they had the rock and then the soldiers. It wasn't enough for the rock, but they thought they needed some people, and they thought the soldiers had enough authority, power, weapons to keep anybody from getting in and keep him from getting out. But once again, no person, no group of people can stop the will of God. Say that to yourself. No person or group of people can stop the will of God. You should be able to sleep better, to stress less, because of the people who are trying to block God's will in your life. Because, hear me, no soldiers, you name the group, can stop God's will. Why? Because God is greater than the soldiers outside the grave. God is greater than the obstacle. He's greater than that. And so you don't have to be fretting over that. It didn't stop him, and it won't stop you. Don't let the label get you. Here's a bonus, and I got a couple more things to say and I'm through. Some of us miss something that Jesus demonstrates when we are dealing with his enemies. And I just want to point it out because I don't want you to ever miss it again. Some of you are paralyzed by the presence of the labels that are on you. You're paralyzed by the obstacles that are in front of you. You're paralyzed by the person or the people who are opposing you, and you're praying and you're fasting and you're asking God to move them. And you are waiting to make your move on God to move them. But Sunday morning, the label was still on him. The grave was still locked. The soldiers were in place, but Jesus was gone. Y'all don't know how to shout. You don't have to wait on God to move your enemy. You don't have to wait on God to move the obstacles. You don't have to wait on God to transform what other people think about you. All you got to do is know that God can deliver from inside the tomb. I don't know if he took him out a back door. I don't know if he took him under, over, sideways. I don't know. But what I do know is early Sunday morning, he got up with all power in his hand. Yeah. Yeah. So stop waiting on a new boss. Stop waiting on a new address. Stop waiting on more money. Stop waiting on this and that, and know that in your current situation, God is more than able to get you what you want. Oh, I don't know who this for, but God just dropped this in my spirit. Stop waiting on a 700 credit score. God said, I'll give it to you with a 600. God said, stop waiting on that man. I'm going to give it to you without a man. Stop waiting on that woman. I'm going to give it to you without a woman. Y'all sit down. Y'all gonna make me do something I don't want to do today. Y'all sit down, sit down, sit down, sit down, sit down. Now, this is the bonus. And I'm showing it to you because, like I say, his enemies, your enemies, and they so ignorant they didn't learn any new tricks. They still trying to do the same tricks. Jesus could rest well because he knew what they didn't know. He knew that his Father could take what your enemy means for evil and use it for good. So on Friday night, all day Saturday, he was having a 3-day revival. He was preaching in Hades. While they were out there fretting about him, he was having revival. And he was not worried because this is what he knew. Again, God take what your enemy meant for good. Jesus had a problem. Okay, yeah, somebody just help me out. What your enemy meant for bad, God turn it for good. Thank you. Jesus had a problem. The people didn't believe in him, these Pharisees and others, when he was alive, in spite of the miracles. And so when he got out the grave, he was going to need some witnesses. And if the witnesses had only been Mary and Martha, his mama, his followers, they could be discredited. But he worked that thing so that the enemies who were trying to disqualify him as Messiah would be the ones who would validate his resurrection. Because when you go to the next chapter, it opens up and said early in the morning, the women, Mary and these other women, they went to the grave. And they were having this conversation when we get to the grave, who's going to roll the stone away? We don't have any men with us. And we can't do it. Who's going to roll the stone away? And they just kept walking. And when they got to the grave, God had dispatched an angel. And the angel rolled the stone away in the presence of the women and the soldiers. And when they rolled the stone away, the angel said, I know who you're looking for, but he's not here. He got up like he said, soldiers, when the stone was rolled away and they saw the empty tomb, they fell up. They fell out. And I see the angel in my sanctified imagination, hey, get up, get up. I don't need you passing out now. Get your behind up, because I need you to see this empty grave, because somebody got to go tell it, and you gonna go tell it. The ones who was supposed to stop it, the one who was gonna spread the lie, you're gonna be the same one to run tell an unbelieving world. Go tell those Pharisees, he got up and his disciples didn't get him up. Go tell them he got up and the door was sealed and we were watching and we couldn't stop it. Yeah. The same ones who've been trying to block you. The same ones who've been labeling you. The same one who've been putting these things in your way to hurt you, gonna be the same ones that God will use to validate you. Yeah, the same one who told you you couldn't graduate, gonna have to put the crown or the hood on your shoulder. The same one gonna have to shake your hand when you walk across the stage. The same one who said you would never make it in your business, gonna be the same one coming in the door asking for some help. The same one who never said you wasn't gonna make it, gonna be riding by your house, watching you sitting on your front porch, chilling in the afternoon with your family, drinking lemonade, sitting out there on the front yard, rolling green grass, shrubbery everywhere, your dream car in the driveway, your boo dream car in the driveway. You healthy, you fine, you looking good. You're gonna say, hey. Cut it out, Simmons, I'm trying. Hey, how y'all doing? What's up, dog? That's how you doing it now? No, I'm just doing a little something. This ain't nothing. I know you were kicking it like that, dog. This ain't nothing here. You ought to come inside. This ain't nothing here. You ought to see what's on the inside of me. You think that little material stuff, something, you ought to let me tell you about the joy I got.
Thanks for watching. Be blessed and continue walking in the light.